good evening, everybody, and welcome to RAMP, Real Access Motivates Progress podcast. This is episode 7, I believe, and tonight we are talking all about finding the perfect home. We have Melissa Baker, who's having a little bit of technical difficulties, so she'll be joining us at some point. Jason Rose, who is a financial advisor, and Brad Verdi, who is in construction. So we have all angles of the home owning search and getting in. So we have lots of questions. So we're going to get started right away. So welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me tonight. Let me go around and ask you all to tell us a little bit about you and what your connection is to the disability community. Let's start with you, Jason.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Rose. I'm a personal mortgage advisor with Nations Lending. I've been with them for about 3 years in the field of mortgage lending for about 4. I have a history of behavior analysis. I worked for a long time, for about 15 years, working in the behavioral field, working with children and adults with all types of disabilities, from developmental, behavioral, and things like that nature, for about 15 years. And then I kind of used that and kind of switched over to this field. But it's near and dear to my heart. Anyone with disabilities and that field in general has always been something that I've always wanted to keep in touch with.
Oh, that's awesome. And Brad, tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Brad Verdi. I've been a realtor for about 4 years, and I have been in the construction field officially for about 2.5 years, 3 years. I've been obviously working in the construction world my whole life. My grandfather was a carpenter, my dad, and yeah, I mean, it's just something that's near and dear to my heart. My son actually is on the autism spectrum, and he, we're constantly, trying to navigate that as well. So that's really what brought me to this passion of mine to help improve the lives of anybody that I can with disabilities. But yeah, that's
incredible. And just to give you guys a little bit of background, Melissa Baker is a realtor. She is with White Lion Realty, and she also works with HomeSmart. So hopefully she'll be joining us before the end of the show, but she's having, like I said, a little bit of technical difficulties, so she may pop in as soon as she can figure that out. But in the meantime, I know some of the biggest pressing ideas of the disability community is, should we be able to own our own home? Should we be able to have a choice of owning our own home, and what our options are? Everybody knows my story, that I've been looking for 2 years to find accessible housing for wheelchair accessibility, and finally Habitat for Humanity came through for us. But that's a blessing. But we need to make it easier, and we need to let the people in the community know that there are options, and they are people like you guys that they can turn to. So Jason, give us some ideas of whether the person has SSDI or it's a family member, how they would go about financially securing themselves a home or an apartment or whatnot.
Well, for purchasing a home, there's a few options they'll have. If you have someone that's on disability, whichever type it is, whether it's SSDI or if they're a veteran and they have their pension through the VA, things like that, those funds are, it's income. I mean, it's basic income that everyone else would have. The good thing about it, a lot of it is not taxed, so we can use that information and kind of use it to qualify for purchasing a home. If you have someone that has a child that receives any type of disability income through SSDI or Social Security, they can also use that income as long as they are staying in the home with them for at least 3 years or more. If the child's going to be receiving it for the rest of their lives, then that's even a better way to use it. Because again, it's going to be something that they can use for the betterment of the family in the home. The other way they could use income it's called caregiver income. And what that is if you have someone that is a parent of a child that has, who knows the disability might be. It could be something it has to be something that's long-term, and they'll be receiving that money for pretty much forever. For a quick example, I have someone that just last year finished getting her home was because she had just been able to receive the money from the state for caregiver income. And typically we have to wait, you have to have 2 years of showing consistent income. She had it for a month, but because she was going to be able to receive that for the rest of her child's life, her child had a multitude of issues. So when that became what we used for the income, she was then able to buy the home with that extra income on top of hers. She was working part-time, so that income from the state really was her major source of income as it was. So that was able to, what we qualified for her. So there's a lot of different avenues. It really is going to take someone that understands the field, someone like I said, like myself, who understands, what someone like might be going through and how that income works. Because I had to talk to the underwriter and kind of explain to them how this type of income works to get them to understand. So not everyone understands that. So, you have to have someone that kind of is in your corner to help you with that.
Right. You are a big plus. Yeah. You are a big plus to that because, like I said, you've definitely. Here's one thing that I want to make sure that we get across, though. Does it go against their SSDI by using that income? Because I know if you use it towards, like, if you get a job, you can only make so much money, or you can only use it. I know the biggest fear that most people have is if they use their SSDI, could they possibly lose it because they're getting a home? Is there any threat to it?
No, as far as with everyone I've worked with, it's never been the case. What happens is it's used as for qualifying purposes. So if, as a lender, if that were to hurt the person buying the home, then we'd have to take that into account and actually reduce, what they might be taking in. We have to just show that they're going to receive it for, usually it's, 3 years. And most people that receive SSDI are going to receive it for, if not the rest of their lives. It just depends on the person. But that's all we have to show. So that's really it. It will not hurt them in that way. It won't deter them from buying a home. It's guaranteed income that we can use.
Perfect. And Brad, from your perspective of accessibility, I know most of the contractors that I have spoken to, like the bigger contractors, when they're building from scratch, they're legally bound to doing ADA adaptable. And I know that's not accessible. So could you explain the difference to that and how you manage that issue?
Well, ADA adaptable and ADA accessible, obviously, as you know, are two different things. Accessible, meaning that you can fit, a full-size wheelchair through every door in the house, meaning that you can, be able to access your kitchen counters in a kitchen. There's lots of, different things in the house, whether it be, a roll-in shower, removing a tub and making it so that you can actually, get into the tub, into the shower without having to, get out of your chair if you don't want to get out of your chair. So there's, with retrofitting houses, it's very difficult to get 100% ADA accessible, but there's always options to making sure that we can get as close to accessible 100% as possible. Whether it be widening doorways, whether it be, like I said, removing tubs and making them a seamless roll-in shower, whether it be, completely redesigning a kitchen so that, all of the storage is within reach. There's always customizations that can be done within a house, but to say that, to take a house from 1955 and make it 100% ADA accessible, that would be a very challenging undertaking, but we could get it very close to where, someone that is in a wheelchair can get to every part of the house that they would want to get to live there comfortably.
That's amazing, because I know the house that I live in currently is not anywhere near ADA compliant. Like, my wheelchair does not even fit into my bathroom, but my landlord doesn't want the look of, accessibility, but doesn't that add value? Because everybody's going to get older and everybody's going to need that. Doesn't that still add value to the home? Yes,
it does. I mean, in terms of it adds value to that community for sure. Whether or not 100% of the market is going to want that particular aesthetic, you're never going to get that with any house ever. You're never going to appeal to 100% of the market ever. So as long as the ramp if we put a ramp in the front, a ramp in the side, you make it aesthetically pleasing to the eye. You take into account curb appeal. There's always solutions to aesthetics, so to speak.
Right. I mean, I just find it, I hate that aspect of they don't want it to look accessible. But I mean, there are so many people, it's not just wheelchair accessible. What if you needed a knee scooter, or you had hip surgery,
Right.
or your older family member wanted to come over and visit you? They can't get in, because I know I can't go to a
Right.
lot of my family's homes because their homes are not accessible. So how do we get past that? How do you think is something that we could get people to think differently about that? Because I don't think my ramp looks bad out front. I have it all covered with flowers, and you know what I mean? I just think it's different, but I don't think it looks bad.
I mean, to change the mindset of everyone, I think would be an undertaking that it would be very challenging. But as long as you're taking into account, like they said, the aesthetic of the home, you're looking at, the way that it was constructed, the type of home, whether it be a Cape Cod or a raised ranch or a colonial, when you're taking into account, how these houses are designed, and you incorporate that into your ramp design, or your wider doorway, or your elevator up to your porch, or however you want to configure your home to make it fit for you. When you take into account the design of the home, and you're not just retrofitting something to the house to solve a problem, and you look at it as I want to make this house beautiful for me, and I want to make sure that that when somebody drives down the street, they look at my house and they say, wow, that's a really nice ramp. It almost looks like it's a veranda or a porch. And you take into account, like I said, the aesthetic of the home and the style of the home when you're making the design for the ADA ramp or the ADA elevator or whatever you decide you want to add to your home.
All right. Now, with being realtors and the financial end, what are some of the questions that you first ask a customer to see if they need something in the disability version or way, or the special, financing or whatever? We'll start with you, Jason. What are some of the questions that you would need to ask up front, or that they would need to have information up front for you to help them in the best way possible?
So what we usually ask them is, if it's someone that has Social Security or SSDI, we ask for their award letter. That's something that we would need right away. It's part of the documents that we would show to underwriting when we get the whole package together. So we usually ask for very basic things in the very beginning. We ask for your ID, your Social Security card, your bank statements. If you have W-2s, or like I said, somebody that has SSDI, we ask for the award letter. We'll ask for bank statements to show that money's going into the account. Just basically, that's really it. There's really not much that we actually need from them. It's very basic information, usually something that they already have available. So we try to make it as easy as possible. If there's something else, like I said, if you have someone that has caregiver income or things like that, we might need the contract that's from whatever agency they're getting that from. That, again, something pretty basic that they would already know, but we usually ask for that stuff right up front. So they can get it readily available. And I usually try to walk them through it. So if they need, some guidance on how to get it, I usually will, have them reach out to their HR department of that company, or if they need some help with getting their disability information, I try to help them out as best as possible.
Is there any special financing or any programs available to families like that that you know of? I know the Rhode Island Foundation does some. I know there's some out there, but do you know of any in particular that people could utilize, especially if they needed to refinance because they need to make adjustments to their home?
It's really, when you're refinancing, or if you're looking into really anything like that, it's really based on the guidelines that are being set forth. And if they qualify, we so as a lender, Nations doesn't have very many overlays, if any. So we go strictly by the guidelines that are put forth. So if you have a conventional loan or a USDA loan or an FHA loan, those guidelines are pretty open and available. So we can pretty much fit them in one of those products. If you're purchasing, I really would say look into a USDA loan. USDA is, especially in Rhode Island, you have, if you're looking in Foster and in Smithfield and areas like that, anything that's not in a municipality, that's 100% financing, and they have income limits. So it almost fits someone who's on that type of budget more than going into a different type of product. It's designed for lower income type of families, and it's helpful with down payment because it's 100% financing, and it's really a good program to use. And technically, 96% of the country geographically it falls under USDA, but Rhode Island itself falls, very much of the state falls under it. Only, municipalities like Providence, Warwick, cities don't fall under it, but anything else, if you like living up in the northern part of the state, go for it.
Right, and you can walk them all right through that, correct?
Oh yeah, I would welcome. So just so you have an understanding of when they work with me, from the time that they fill out an application or talk to me on the phone through the time that through their closing, I'm with them through the whole process. There's other people that are involved,
awesome.
with that, but I'm always available, whether it's, via text or cell phone or email, calls, I try to be as, available as possible. And even though they might go to the process for certain points of the process, they can always reach out to me. I'm always, you have to be fully transparent and fully available to anybody that's working with you, especially in that, in this, demographic.
Yeah. Now, Brad, I'm going to ask you to put on your realtor hat for a little bit.
Sure.
If somebody like me contacted you, and I'm in a wheelchair, how do you go about making sure that they are fully participating? And obviously we can't get into a lot of homes that aren't accessible, at the get-go. How do you make sure that you're being fully inclusive to them, that they can be fully part of the process?
Well, I'm very available for, walking through homes prior to a showing. It takes planning, obviously, because we want to make sure that we're not wasting anybody's time, but viewing homes prior to, actually booking a showing with my client. It's something that I do with foreclosures, when I'm looking for a home for investors, and I do the same thing for, a client that has, a disability and would not be able to actually see the home. And then we can navigate, whether it be a Facebook Live or not a Facebook Live, but
video walkthrough
with the iPhone. Yeah, a virtual walkthrough. Excuse me. Yes, I'm sorry.
Right.
The whether it be FaceTime or Skype, you can do it with phones, as obviously we're doing right now. But yeah, it would be something that would be completely virtual. That I would be able to walk through with them. And obviously, we would always try to make sure that they can see the home from the outside if they wanted to do that. I just don't want to obviously waste anybody's time. But like I said, I could preview the home, make sure that it's going to be something that that I think they would be interested in, and then at that point I would make the call, do a virtual tour, virtual walkthrough, whatever my client is comfortable with.
Great.
And I was asking a lot of questions.
I know Melissa. Yeah. Well, I know Melissa for me, and I know she's not here because she still can't get on. But I know when I started working with Melissa from the get-go, she did a lot of virtual tours for me. She walked me video tours through the house. She knew basically what I needed. She knew that I wanted it mostly on one level, and kind of what I was looking for. So she was great like that. And I know that's how, most of the staff and everything that she works with does it the same way. I just wanted
Absolutely.
everybody to hear it directly from a realtor. But Melissa was great with that. She gave me a lot of virtual tours, a lot of virtual walkthroughs, and basically told me, you know what, this house that you were looking at, I know it's in your price range, but it's going to be too expensive for you to completely change over. So we're not even going to look at that one right now. We're going to move on to another one. So she's been great with doing that. So as long as you are upfront with your client, and as long as your client is upfront with you at exactly what they're looking for and what their mobility issues are, this isn't an issue. I know with building the Habitat home for me right now, just even the layout of the kitchen, people don't realize what a big deal that is. Because like the home that I live in now, my stove is so far away from my sink. So just dumping a pot of water for macaroni is like a 10-step process for me, because you got to put it on the counter and you're going to back up a little bit, move it. Where the home now is my stove to my sink is one swoosh away. I can pick the pot up and reach my sink that distance. The fridge is on the opposite side because I don't need to access my refrigerator from my sink or my stove. It's not as important. Stuff like that. Is that stuff that you walk people through when they tell you what their mobility issues are? Is that something that you can help guide them through and explain to them and help them, navigate through?
Of course, yeah. I mean, anytime you take into redesigning any aspect of a home, whether with people without disabilities or with disabilities, it's candid conversation. It's asking questions, and it's listening to what the person's actually saying, and taking the time to just go through it and explain. We have designers for our cabinet lines that will sit down and walk through the whole process digitally prior to actually getting it into the home. So we'll take measurements as any kitchen designer would, but then we'll take the time to go through and say, okay, well, you don't want this type of countertop, because you can't. If you want to put a hot pan on this counter, it's going to burn your counter. So, talking about what you were saying, and just really asking questions and listening to what my clients are saying, and paying attention to what their needs are. And it's important, to make sure that my clients are candid with me, and I have that dialogue right up front. Say, listen, I'm going to ask you questions. I want honest answers, and I'm going to give you honest feedback. If you can do it, we're going to do it. If we can't do it, we're not going to do it, or we're going to find a solution somewhere else on another property. Being a realtor, there's a lot of it that's very salesy, but when you're working with someone who has a disability or has challenges, whether it be fundamentally or mentally, you have to take those things into account. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to sell this person this house because it's at a great price point. Not to say that all realtors do that, but there are some that will. On to the next. It's a relationship from the moment that we meet, from the moment that we get to the closing table, and then after that. It's not something that just dies at the closing table. It's something that we're always going to have. As long as you're in your home, as long as you are able to own a home. My goal is to be able to be your realtor for life, as is Melissa's, as I'm sure is Jason's, to be your loan officer for life. And that is through relationships.
And that's what I think is so great about White Lion and you and Melissa, and because you all have, Melissa's daughter is autistic. She is on the spectrum too. So Melissa has been very much involved in the whole community. And I just think it's so great to have realtors like you and financial people like you that actually live, eat, and breathe what we're dealing with on a daily basis. It all may be different, but we're all dealing with it together, and you guys really care. And that's what I want to get across to our viewing audience tonight, that there are realtors out there who truly care, and it's not just about the sale. Because I know Melissa is definitely not just about the sale, and I know you, Brad, are not just about the sale, and I know, Jason, when I worked with you for the financial aspect, you were about me. You were about my needs and what I needed. And I want people out there to know that you guys truly care. You guys go above and beyond, and I think more people need to do that. Let's talk about the virtual world and other people in your area. No, I don't want to talk about that because I don't bash anybody. But what do you think that other people need to do and to step up to do what you guys do? Is it really a big deal to do what you guys do? Or is this something that everybody could do if they chose to, or if they chose to take the time? Let's start with you, Jason.
Well, I hate to say that it's easy to do this in the sense of, just being able to work with anybody, but it should be. I mean, and I think Brad would say the same thing. It should be easy for you to work with whoever walks through the door, as easy as you can make it. And with everyone that's, whether they're a parent of a child with a disability, or they have a disability themselves, whether they're, whatever it might be, it's all about just understanding the person's situation and just having some understanding of it. Even if you've never worked with or met someone with a disability before, just understanding that, hey, this is another aspect, another thing I can work on and work with and learn from. And it's not really that hard to do. It's just being able to invite someone in and get understanding their situation. Then you build on that. You build that relationship. You understand. They might give you more information that you can actually work with, and you might find ways of where originally you were like, oh, I saw their income and it didn't really work. But then you find out that, like I said, they might have a child that is on SSDI, which they didn't know they could use their income to help qualify for. As you get to talk with them and get to understand their situation, you might find out ways that they can actually be able to purchase a house. And that's one of the things that it just comes naturally, or should come naturally as you progress with that relationship.
Awesome. And Brad, your perspective on that?
Well, just looking at every single person that we're working with as a individual, you can't treat everybody the same. You have to take everybody's needs and wants into account. And, start with just that. Say, this is my needs list. This is my wants list. This is my, nice to haves list. And taking that and just expounding upon that. Yes, it should be easier for people to do this. But, there are people that in this industry that just want the same experience so that they can move forward, keep moving forward, get to the next one, get to the next one, get to the next lead, get to the next house. There are people out there that do that and are very successful doing that. And that's the problem, I think, is that they can be successful and they can be choosy.
Right.
But I choose not to be. And that is the difference. It's like we talked about before, creating relationships with people and not thinking about the low hanging fruit, thinking about the high hanging fruit, working, 3-6 months out, knowing it's going to be a process, saying, okay, this is going to be a process for you to start. Okay, we don't think we're going to go into this and you're going to be in a house in a month, because that's probably not going to happen. We have to look at the right house. We have to look at the right financing. We have to look at the right designs, and it's going to be 6 months. It could be 6 months. I worked with a girl who was doing a 203K loan. It took us 1.5 years to find the right house, because she had income issues, challenges, I should say. And she wanted to do it herself. She wanted to do a 203K loan. She wanted to renovate the house herself with her contractor. I wasn't actually, a registered contractor at the time, but, and we got it done. And she's living in West Warwick now, happy as a clam in her house that she renovated herself. But it took 1.5 years, and it's just being very candid about expectations and taking everybody's needs and wants and making sure that they're met. It's like I said,
and I want to thank you. Yeah. I want to thank you both for that, because there are so many realtors, before I ended up finding Melissa, there are so many realtors out there that once they found out I was in a wheelchair, they did not even want to talk to me anymore. I never even got a call back for help, because they just thought I was going to be too much work and too much of a problem. But when I met all of you, you took me right in, and we're now building for other people. I'm referring. So now that I'm taken care of, I'm referring other people to you guys. I am, showing them the way. And that's the whole thing. When you take that extra step, you build lifelong goals. And I may not be moving soon, but I know somebody who is, or I know somebody who needs to upgrade their house because their mother, grandmother, or whatever has to move in with them, or they got into a car accident and now they're part of this wonderful disability community and they need some changes. Who do you think I'm going to send them to? The guys that took care of me, and Melissa, who took care of me. That's who I'm going to send them to. You know what I mean? So it's all about a relationship, and it doesn't take that much more effort. You know what I mean? It's spending. But here's the other thing. What do you guys want to tell the disabled community? Because I know we find a way that we settle. We feel bad to think that we're making you guys work extra for us, that we'll just say, oh no, we'll make that work. Oh no, we'll make that work. What do you want us to know from your perspective? You know what I mean? Like, what should we be doing to make it easier for you, or are we making it more difficult for you? Jason?
It's funny because the people that I have the most stress from are the fields that, where they make the most money. You've got like doctors and attorneys that, it's not a personality thing. It's the fact of like, some will have some have bad credit, some have issues like that. It's every individual is different. So for the people in the community should just understand that, listen, whatever your situation is, we're going to work through it and see what we can do. Whether it takes you a month, 6 months, a year to purchase the home. If there's a plan, we put a plan in place to get you there. That's what we'll do. Things might take time, or you might be able to buy a house right away. It really depends on each person. But it's the understanding is that we're here to work. So it shouldn't be always easy for us. If that was the case, anyone could do this job. So you're not more or less stressful than anybody else. It's really about everyone's situation. And to be honest with you, that's what we're here for. We're here to be the professional that's going to guide you from, application through closing on your house and hopefully past that. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So we shouldn't really be expecting you as the consumer to be thinking or to know all the rules or regulations or anything like that. That's what we're supposed to know. And I think that even, I don't want to speak for Brad, but I think the same thing on the realtor side. I think you guys, same thing. You guys want to be the ones that, that's your job, All
right. Brad, your intake?
Well, the biggest thing is that for a realtor to discriminate, it's illegal. Number one, for any reason. So that's one thing that is very important for the community to know. It's illegal for them to do that, and as well with lending. That's my understanding, right, Jason?
Yes, yes, very, very much so. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So for us for any realtor to say, you know what, and I'm sure that there's not one out there that will say that to you, but they'll say it through their actions.
Right.
But for anybody to go into a situation of buying a home, renovating a home, retrofitting a home, to have any other expectation of the person that they're hiring should be, you're going to solve my problems, whether it be it's my challenges, whether it be, a solution we come up with together or a solution that I come up with for you, or what. There's always going to be a challenge. There's always going to be a solution, whether it be one that you didn't know you could do, or you could, what you thought was something is not. There's always a solution to every challenge is what I'm trying to say. And it's just, it's candid conversation. Like, I'll go back to that. Candid conversation, managing expectations, and just being very clear on what you need. And, we as professionals are the ones that are supposed to navigate those things for you, not you. You are the ones to come to the table with the needs and the wants. And then we, as the professional, are going to say, okay, well, we can probably do this, but we might not be able to do this. But you know what? We could do this, and that might work better for you than what you had originally anticipated in the beginning. It's our job to find those solutions for you, not for you to find so that we can do our job, essentially.
Right. And that's so true. No realtor has ever said that they didn't want to work with me because I was in a wheelchair, but you don't get the callbacks. You don't get the attention. You don't get the answers. So they find their own way around the rules. You know what I mean? And really to fight it, it's not worth it, because do I really want to work with somebody that I had to fight with to give me my basic needs? But what I want to get across to people is, I don't care if you're paying $1 or if you're paying $1 million for a home. You deserve the same experience. Do you not agree with that? That you shouldn't have to settle Right. You shouldn't have to settle because you are low income and your needs are more than if you had $1 million and you could have anything that you wanted. Neither one should have to settle for anything because you're going to live in that home and you're going to be the one paying for that home. You guys aren't paying for it. We're paying for it. Like, people don't realize even my Habitat home, I'm paying for. A Habitat home is not a free home. I still have a mortgage every month that I have to pay for. It's, yes, a more easier mortgage on my income, but it's still a mortgage. So even though it's easier, and what people would say is, wow, that's next to nothing, it's still hard when you're on a fixed income that's not usually a living wage on disability. So, but I shouldn't have to settle because I'm on disability. And that's what I think a lot of people do not understand, that they think that because they're low income and because they're hard to work with, or because they're hard to find the right fit, they should settle and they deserve less. And I believe a lot of people out there in your industry treat them that way. What is your saying? What is your feeling on that? And what do you say to people or to other people in your industry of doing that to people? Jason, Brad, I don't care.
I'll take the lead on that. I think that it's just important. There's really, you can't make people want to do anything they don't want to do, for sure. And if I was to ever come into a contact with a realtor that did say that, I mean, obviously you would say, listen, you're number one, you're violating your code of ethics, and you're violating the law. I know that this person might be more challenging, but you don't know what they're going to refer you. I mean, the most challenging clients are always the ones that give the best referrals, 9 times out of 10. If you can get the most challenging situations to the closing table and get them into a home and they're happy, they're the ones that shout to the moon and back about praising you. So, it's a matter of saying, okay, like I said, the high hanging fruit or the low hanging fruit. I concentrate on the high hanging fruit because I want my business to be in business forever. I don't want to have to worry about markets. I don't want to have to worry about market turns. And and when you create relationships with people, that's your business for life. And yes, I mean, it is selfish of me in a way, but it's selfless in the sense that I want to work with everybody.
Right. Jason?
Well, to piggyback on Brad, that it's true, with the fact of, when you work with someone that might have a difficult situation and that you work with really hard with, they typically 9 times out of 10 go out and give you the best referral, and you actually feel, you as a person feel more just a positive reaction from it. So you can say, hey, I helped this person get through. This person never thought they would ever buy a home, never going to own something of their own because they've been told for however long they couldn't do so. That's a sense of accomplishment for myself, not just because I made some an income off of it, but I gave someone that opportunity and to help them get through there, to see it through. That's really what this is about, especially with those quote unquote more difficult types of loans, because it's much more gratifying and satisfying for me to see that person at the closing table sign those documents because they worked their butt off to get there, and that's really what it is. You can see that in the individual when they're working really hard to get that home, compared to someone that, like you said, can go really anywhere to get the loan. They can go anywhere. So then go if you go somewhere else, okay, you go somewhere else. But with those others who need that help, those are the ones that really give me the best. I feel the most accomplished with.
Your home is your place, your safe place, and your happy place. And I agree with you. There is nothing more gratifying. I'll tell you, swinging a sledgehammer is my new free therapy. I've learned that very well during Habitat for Humanity. And building your own home from scratch, you appreciate it more and you work at it. So I believe you're both absolutely correct on that. And I know Melissa feels exactly the same way. It's the ones who struggle and do everything that they possibly have to and pinch every penny to have something of their own that they worked for is something more gratifying than anybody who has throwaway money, who's just going to buy a home for a couple of years and probably going to move, and it doesn't really mean anything to them. So building that relationship is so important, and it is it is the way of the world. And I'll tell you, there's more people that are going to be difficult than there are that are going to have that free money that could just do anything. Do you guys find that?
Yeah, I mean,
I
in
actually find.
go ahead, Jason.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I find that people that have that work the hardest for it have the most expectations and have the most wants, and you have to manage them, and it's okay, you know, they want to have the biggest house, and they want to have because we talked about before, Tina, that they shouldn't have to settle. Well, the expectations that they have just need to be talked about and discussed, and say, okay, well, this is what your price point is. This is what this price point gets you in this state. You know, these are the things that we have to look at. We can retrofit these houses to make it work for you. But this is where we're at, and just candidly discussing, okay, this is where we're at. No, you can't have that $600,000 house. You can't afford it, and I can't afford it, but you can have this house, and we can make it amazing.
Right. Jason?
Yeah, I think setting expectations is a big thing. It's you know, that from the very beginning, if you set those expectations for everyone involved, it causes less stress across the board for everyone, whether it's the consumer or you know, on everyone working on the loan. There's no stress when everyone understands how the process is supposed to go, and giving like a timeline of things of, you know, if you have these items in by this time, this is where things are going to be going. That is a stress relief, I think, for everyone. Just knowing what's coming next in the process. If you just leave it up in the air, and everyone's going to get confused and stressed out and not understand what's going on. And it's really about setting those expectations and setting a nice little timeline for everyone involved.
Right. I agree. And here's my thing. Right now, everybody in the world decides that they want to be a realtor, and everybody in the world is, you know, in the finance business, because it seems to be what everybody's doing nowadays. But I find it as a job interview opportunity. When I started meeting people, I treated it like I was the boss and you guys were going to work for me, because basically that's what it is. I'm the one who needs the wants. I'm the one who has the money. I'm the one who needs this. I'm going to job interview you, and I can't thank the three of you enough for everything that you have done for me. But it's a job opportunity, because there are so many realtors out there, and there's so many, you know, finance officers out there. Tell me something. I know what makes you guys different, and I'm going to touch base on that when you guys are done. But tell everybody what makes you stand out. This is your job interview. Tell everybody what makes you stand out. Jason, I'll let you start on this one.
Well, I mean, for me, it's service. That's why I tried to market myself as the 5-star mortgage guy, because I want to give you 5-star service from the very beginning to the very end. And it's about communication. It's about understanding. It's about all those types of things. And like I said a few minutes ago, it's really about giving the individual that's trying to buy the home a clear understanding of the process and what's happening, to avoid all confusion. Those are the key things that happen during a loan process that a lot of people in my field get wrong at some point, whether it's communication or clear directions, or, you know, directives in the general sense, or just a bad attitude. I mean, it's just who knows what something breaks down in that process to make someone say, I don't ever want to refer this loan officer to anybody ever again, or they give them bad reviews. Something broke down in that process. And my goal is to have no breakdowns whatsoever. And whether other people do that, I don't know, but that's that's how I do things and how I try to keep it for everyone.
Brad?
Well, I always set the tone right in the beginning. You know, I want you to want to work with me, and if you don't want to work with me, then this isn't going to work. We're not going to be on the same page. And the way that I explain, how I work is that I like I said, I'm just very candid, and upfront with expectations, upfront with, how I am, how I communicate, when I communicate, and when I don't communicate, because you have to have very clear lines, and then that's all a conversation about, because you could have a client that works first shift and is available, evenings, and you have to be available for that person, but that has to be talked about up front. And, like I said, very candid, clear communication, timely communication, and you have to want to work with me, and our personalities have to kind of work together. And as much as it's a job interview for the realtor, it's also a job interview, because you have to want to be in the same room with somebody or the same space with somebody for an extended period of time. I genuinely liked that girl that I was working with. She was a young kid. She was passionate. She wanted to do this, and I loved that about her. So I had no problem working with her for a year and a half. But it's a relationship, and you have to treat it that way. And relationships start well in the beginning with upfront communication, upfront expectations, and just wanting to be working together.
And my say for all of you, out of all of the realtors and finance guys, because in 2 years I have seen it all, trust me, you guys took the time, and the community, the disability community. That is so important. The three of you live it, you eat it, you breathe it. It's something that's embedded in you. You know our wants, our needs. So that was the easy go. And even though I didn't go with you because I'm going through Habitat for Humanity, you guys came out and did a day of service at my Habitat for Humanity house. You guys still keep in touch with me. You guys still ask me, is there anybody that you guys can help? So even though that I had to go a different way, you guys still reach out, and you still are taking care of me and taking care of the disability community. So I'm going to tell everybody that Melissa, Jason, and Brad are the one that you need to go to, and the ones that you need to use for any of your home needs, because if you're going to find the perfect home, it's them that's going to find it for you. And I fully 100%, I am not just saying that, because like I said, I have seen realtors in all shapes, sizes, and forms, and let me tell you, it wasn't until you guys put me at ease that set me in the right direction. And it was Melissa that hooked me up with Habitat for Humanity. Here she is, a realtor trying to make her own business, and hooked me up with Habitat for Humanity because it's where I needed to be, and it all worked out. But still is my friend, and still takes care of me, and still checks on me. And actually, you all came out and worked on my home, which made everything to me important. And I can't thank you guys enough. We're just about getting up to close up. Give us one thing that you want to leave as your lasting impression to everybody. Jason?
Just that, I'm available. Reach out to me if it's just to get an understanding of what the process is like, or what your first steps might be, or if you're not ready to purchase now and you might need to do some work. Let's have that conversation. You have my contact information. You can reach out to me anytime you like, and we can set up a 15, 20-minute, 30-minute conversation, either via Zoom, or you can do a video chat, or you can come into my office and we can talk. I know people with COVID might not want to do that, so we can chat anytime on the phone. I'm available to do so, just to get your foot in the door and get an understanding of what the next step might be.
Brad?
Just that, the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. We can't move forward in a venture unless you're realistic about what you need. And I don't know that unless you're asking questions and we're having dialogue. And I want to work with you. And I'm willing to take the time to do it, just as Melissa and everybody on my team and Jason. We're willing to tackle anything, as long as you're available and you want to be along for that ride. We'll be there with you.
And you guys need to start the process, whether you're like Jason said, whether you're ready to buy now or you're ready to buy in 6-7 months or a year from now. Start the process, have the conversation, because my process started over 2 years ago, and I needed to fix a few things, change a few things. We needed to have other ways of doing things. You need to start that process. And you need to have a relationship. And these are the people you need to have that relationship with. Because Melissa has told me straight out, you do not want that house. That's not for you. It's not going to work. I don't care if you love it. it's not for you, it's not going to work. And the more I thought about it, she was absolutely right. She wasn't in it for the sale. She was in it for me. And all of you are like that. Jason told me straight out, nope, you're not going to do financing that way. This is what you need to fix. Do it. And you were straightforward and honest, not rude about it, not, you know what I mean? But giving me straightforward to the point and what I needed to do and what I needed to fix. And that's what I love about you guys is it's not the sale, it's the person that you guys care about. And I cannot say it enough. If you are ready to buy a house, whether you're in the disability community, have a disability community, or in the regular community, these are the three people you need to be working with, because I'll tell you, they are absolutely incredible. They know their stuff, and they are not paying me to say this. I get nothing of it, and they didn't even get my sale because I'm going through Habitat for Humanity. I'm saying this because I really value what they had to say and in the direction, and they're actually working with me to change some of the bills and the progress to make it easier for the disability community to own their home and to find their own places. So they're working it every day. So I want to thank you guys all for joining me today. And the other thing that I love about you guys is you're all part of my Red Bag initiative, carrying all of your medical information on you at all times. Melissa is my biggest supporter about getting your red bag. So make sure you guys are going to www.rampisinclusion.com and getting your red bag today, because whether you're in the disability community or not, this red bag will save your life. It is not tech-based. It is, and all emergency responders know to look for this bag, and they absolutely love it. So I want to thank you guys for joining us today. I want to thank Melissa. I'm sorry that she had some tech issues, but I want to thank you all for joining us today, and I will tag all of your information so anybody needs to contact you. Jason, Melissa, and Brad are the people to talk to. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
Have a great night.
Thank you, Tina. Have a good night, guys.